But I want to talk to you a little bit of what UnLocal is and who are we and why we're here giving you this presentation. Why us, right? So UnLocal is a community-centered nonprofit organization that provides direct immigration, legal representation, and community education to New York City's undocumented immigrant community. And not only our immigrant communities, but anybody that is involved with our immigrant communities, right? Like a lot of people who may be from here, identified American or from, from anywhere else, but not, don't consider themselves an immigrant, but are involved with immigrant people all the time. We have some of the most important programs, I like to believe, in the city. One of them is the Rapid Response Collaborative Program, which is basically one of the only programs in New York City that would take uh, cases of people who are currently in detention center and basically waiting their last chance. We have the community education program, which is the one that I lead, and it's basically this, right? Given all community and anybody that would like the information on how to create community that has some type of longevity and sustainability for it. I also opened up our website to this because I'd like to let you know that we're having a community celebration on June 11th from 3 to 7 in our office for any students, for anybody that just wants to visit us and come take a look at our new mural. So yes, that's who UnLocal is, and that's what we do. My name is Angelica Lara, and I'm the Education and Outreach Director at UnLocal. We have a New York State DREAM Act fellow that today is out, and that's why today I'm doing the presentation. But you can contact us on Instagram or Facebook or at 646-212-8210. You can give us a call if you have any questions around the New York State DREAM Act, around your immigration status, about a case, about court, and we'll do our best to answer you. And you can also visit us at our website, at unlocal.org. And if, for example, if you're a teacher who wants a presentation for your students, you can go to the website and go to our community education page and request a presentation right here. And you can do that not only if you're a teacher, but if you're a counselor, if you're a student, if you're anybody from the community, like your community or your students, your child's community needs this training, then please feel free to request one. So what is the New York State DREAM Act? Key points. The New York State DREAM Act was passed in January 2019, and it allows undocumented to receive state aid while attending a SUNY or CUNY school. So what is state aid? Basically, what is the New York State DREAM Act? It's federal, it's aid, money aid for people to go to college, right? People who identify as undocumented people who are non-citizens. What are some of the state overview or some of the aid that people get when it comes to their statuses? So a U.S. resident or a permanent resident gets admission, federal financial aid, in-state or out-of-state tuition, grants, loans, and scholarships, and SAT fee waiver. They're eligible for all of that. A DACA eligible student, which means that they went through the process of being of applying for DACA, is eligible for admission, will not be eligible for federal financial aid, will be eligible for in-state or out-of-state tuition. We don't know, depending on the loan, grant, or scholarship, will they be eligible for it, but they will be eligible for SAT fee waiver. An undocumented student will be eligible for admission to CUNY and SUNY. It's very specific to the New York State. Will not be eligible for federal financial aid. Will be eligible for in-state or out-of-state tuition. And dependent, again, on the grant, loan, or scholarship, will they be eligible for it? They will be eligible for the SAT fee waiver. It's important to note that not all immigration statuses are represented here. So please, we can send you more information on this. And there's also a handbook that we can lead your way that can give you more information on other statuses. The eligibility application, typical application, and Excelsior application can be found on hesc.ny.gov/dream. And is the application and user guide are now available on this website. It's the application that the government gives us to apply for any kind of financial aid. These are the requirements for eligibility. In order to qualify for the New York State DREAM Act, you need to live in New York State and you must have one of the following: a U visa, which is a visa if you were a victim of a crime; a T visa. A U visa is a victim of a crime that's specific to a gender crime or interpersonal violence crime. A T visa is a victim of a trafficking crime, or if you're a survivor of trafficking. A deferred and first departure is very similar to DACA, and is it's a deportation that is given to somebody that is too young to understand what's happening. A temporary protected status, or a without lawful status, which includes documented people and people who identify as undocumented. And so you must be, this is the first eligibility. You need to be in New York State. You need to have one of these statuses. The status undocumented is also an eligibility status. And the third one is either attend an undergraduate program within 5 years of receiving a New York State high school diploma, attend a graduate program within 10 years of receiving a New York State high school diploma, or attend an undergraduate program receiving a New York State high school within 5 years of receiving an equivalency diploma, a GED, it's called in New York. Or student is charged the New York State resident in-state tuition rate at a SUNY or CUNY college for any reason other than residency. Note, the eligibility for the New York State DREAM Act requires you to meet one of these three requirements. So one of them. We're moving forward to the New York State DREAM Act application process. I'm gonna take a moment here to see if anybody has any questions thus far. Let me look at the chat. Okay. Does a CDOS fall under one of the requirements? A CDOS, can you tell me what that is? Karina?
Oh, sorry, I'm here. Sorry, it's a little bit outside of my expertise because I'm a school psychologist, not a guidance counselor, but I believe it's more so, it's another pathway to graduation where students can graduate with a credential called a CDAS, whereas more so students have to, it's more hands-on learning and they have to complete a certain amount of work-based learning hours as kind of an internship as one of the graduation pathways.
So what we see is that if anybody gets an actual diploma graduating a program that is equivalent to a high school program, that will be eligible. So I don't want to say yes, definitely, because I'm not familiar with the program that you're talking about, but it sounds like yes, because it's giving you a diploma that is almost, if not mandated by a high school kind of equivalency kind of thing. It could stand in its place, kind of like a GED, if that's what I'm understanding.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Okay, so the New York State DREAM Act application process. Woo. The New York State DREAM Act has two parts that must be completed for funds to be dispersed. The first part is the New York State HESC program eligibility, which is the one that we just spoke about. And the second part is the individual applications to the New York State financial aid programs. So these are general tips for completing the application. If student is undocumented or their parents are documented, they should remove the street address or any parent's names visible on the documentation. For a high school equivalency program graduate, the HSE ID needs to be clearly present. This is really important because a lot of people get rejected because of that. The number 3, unofficial transcripts can be used with full name visible, but it should show full grades. If the graduation year is not marked clearly on a transcript, a copy of the diploma may be necessary. The New York State DREAM Act follows the graduation year instead of the age range. So it's really important for the graduation year to be clear. And multiple files should be uploaded as a zip file because it's just easier for their program, and we don't want to get rejected just because something wasn't being, couldn't open. These are some acceptable types of programs that we can save our information on. A PDF, a TIF, a PNG, a JPEG, a JPJ, a BMP, and an XPS. Students will receive emails from two possible IST email addresses. Both should be added to the context so they don't go to spam mails because they are do not reply emails. They are right here on the screen. They do not reply at applyists.com and the New York State NYS Dream at applyists.com. We can also give you all of that information in an email later. This is part one, the eligibility. So this is what the website of the New York State Dream Act looks like at the beginning. You're gonna press start or add new application. After a student has submitted the eligibility portion of the New York State DREAM Act, for example, they have answered the questions around their high school diploma, or they have uploaded eligibility of how they've been a resident of New York State for years, or they're just doing the do, right? And they were deemed eligible. They will see this message. Their eligibility cannot be confirmed until they submit their academic documentation, either from high school or from their current college, from CUNY or SUNY, or from the alternate programs. That's very important. In 2020, there is a total of 25 programs that are from the New York State financial aid programs that undocumented people have been eligible for. Once a student has been deemed eligible for the New York State DREAM Act, they can apply to individual financial aid programs on the HESC website. There's a lot of them, according to whatever it is that they want to do. So some people want to do science, some people want to do math, some people want to do fashion. People got to look for their perspective expertise. So many students will be eligible for the tuition assistance program, which is TAP, which provides up to $5,165. This is what the TAP application student information first detail page looks like, and it's a pretty drop down comment page, very A, B, and C clickable. These are the income ceilings for TAP. $80,000 for dependent undergraduate students or independent students who are married and have tax dependents. So if you're married and have some babies, $80,000 between both of you is the ceiling for TAP. Or independent students who are unmarried and have tax dependents. So you don't gotta be married, right? But if you have your partner, you have your babies, then your ceiling TAP is also $80,000. $40,000 for married independent undergraduate students who have no other tax dependents. So if you're a newlywed, and you're starting college and you're both out here trying to do it, then 40,000 is your ceiling. 10,000 for unmarried independent undergraduate students with no tax dependents. So if you're a high school kid just out of college, you're not, no love in sight yet, right? Your cap is $10,000. Well, no marriage. I shouldn't say love. And the TAP application requires a student to provide information on where they are enrolled in college. So this is a lot of where the mentorship in high school comes in when it comes to the TAP applications, because by the time that students are filling out this application, they should already know where they're either accepted to or want to apply to, or they have already looked through the requirements or where they're eligible for. The Excelsior application requires students to agree to live and work in New York State for the length and time to receive the award. This is very important for the Excelsior people who want to apply for the New York State DREAM Act. The Excelsior being one of the most one of the scholarships that give you the most money. So it's very prestigious, and people like it a lot. They like to apply a lot. But one thing that you need to keep in mind is that you can't be out of state. So if you don't live in New York State but want to come to school in New York State, it can work for you, depending if you've had history in New York, or like high school or stuff like that. But the important thing is that you have to start and finish your education in New York State. So you can't start and then leave and expect the scholarship to leave with you. Some students get caught in the sauce with that. Income ceilings for Excelsior. Program is open to eligible students from families who earned up to $125,000 a year to attend a SUNY or CUNY college tuition free. This is regardless if they're married or unmarried, according to tax income. Any questions thus far? Let me check the chat. Will this be shared with us? Yes. Will a student who is eligible for DREAM Act automatically be considered for TAP, or do they apply separately? You have to apply separately. Just to make sure. And no, nothing's automatic, but just to, yes, they should apply separately to everything. If I could not answer your question yet, feel free to unmute and ask. Yes, please. So, okay, let me move forward.
Sorry, I do have a question regarding that. If a student qualifies for the DREAM Act, does the child get notified through an email?
Yes.
That they now qualify for TAP and they should apply for this? Like, are they prompted to then move on to the next step, or is it just, that the guidance counselor says, and apply for this too? And what happens?
So they will be prompted. Okay. I'm going to keep it real, right? They're supposed to be prompted, but we've heard of students who find it confusing, right? Or who the prop is just sitting there and we just really don't know what the button is for. The email comes in, but it goes into like the garbage inbox. So the website is so old that it's not that easy to understand the prop. And it's basically like we sometimes treat it like it doesn't exist, right? So the answer is yes, they will get an email saying that they're not eligible for New York State DREAM Act and briefing them on some things that they're also eligible for, but it won't indicate like now you have to do this as as a next step of things that they need to do. So that's where we come in.
Okay, but if they do qualify for the DREAM Act, how much aid can they receive? This would be for a CUNY or a SUNY school as well?
Yeah, that depends on their income, on their family composition, and on their application.
Okay.
But there's a cap, like the cap is around $5,162.
Okay, so if they apply for DREAM Act, they should also be applying for TAP and Excelsior to see if they're eligible?
They should apply for everything as much as possible.
Okay.
For sure. Thank you for that. Let's move forward because we're actually going to tap a little bit more into these questions that are like super essential. It's basically a lot of what students ask and parents ask. So I'm very grateful for those questions. How do you know you have completed all 3 portions? Once a student has completed the 3 portions of the New York State DREAM Act, which is the Excelsior Spring to 2020 Scholarship, the 2020-21 Tuition Assistance Program TAP, and the New York State HES Program eligibility, their home dashboard would look like this with 3 completed applications. So this is basically the way that the applications look. There won't be a prompt, but it will live there, like basically telling you, please complete me. Students will be asked to provide tax documentation as a proof of income. So this is the tax documentation, what it normally looks like. The New York State DREAM Act, if any student needs any assistance in applying for the New York State DREAM Act, we have UnLocal fellow named Diana who does this. So I'm gonna leave this up on the screen for a little bit so y'all could take her email down and give it to your students, whoever it is that needs it, and they can, Diana can walk with them step by step and answer their questions and applying for the TAP, for HESC, and for the Excelsior Scholarship. True or false? Is there an age restriction to apply for the New York State DREAM Act? What do we think? What does the chat say? Let's see. False. Everybody is right. What they're looking at is the graduation year. Thank you, everybody. I feel so, we're getting this. That's really awesome. Federal financial aid. Let's tap into this. Filling out the FAFSA. Why do it? Students who are not eligible for federal aid, depending on their process, should still fill out FAFSA. Submitting FAFSA gets you a student aid report, which can be used to apply for scholarships or institutional aid. If non-eligible student receives any aid, they should return it immediately. So I want to be very clear about this, right? Because undocumented students can apply for FAFSA, and sometimes they can get the money in, but that is not an aid for them. That becomes a loan, which means that FAFSA will later on will ask for the loan back because undocumented people have to pay out of pocket. So the intention of applying for FAFSA is for the undocumented person or for somebody who is not eligible for federal aid to get the student aid report that some scholarships or institutional aid requests in order for the student to be eligible for it. Challenges. Undocumented students and their families may not have social security numbers to file the FAFSA. They may be fearful of reporting their tax and financial information because of their immigration status. We see this all the time. Many families do pay taxes via the ITIN numbers assigned by the IRS. Others do not or have inaccuracies with their past tax reports. And obviously this creates a challenge for people who are applying for financial aid. DACA students, if people with DACA have a social security number, they should include this with their application. And everybody should file FAFSA as early as possible. Anybody who is applying as a dependent should ask their parents to request an IRS transcript. Filling out the FAFSA for undocumented students. The first thing first, do not submit FAFSA online, please. This is one very specific advice that we like to give for undocumented students. Please use the College Board profile, the CSS profile. We can fill out the paper copy of the FAFSA to submit to individual institutions for in-house calculations. Counselors, this is really huge advice for you and a huge moment of solidarity for our students. Counselors should inform schools when submitting CSS profile or paper copy of FAFSA, right? Because obviously schools get lost in the sauce all the time. And when undocumented students or people with other immigration status that are not eligible for FAFSA go to the financial aid offices, a lot of what they're requesting is for high school counselors or for other counselors to have let them know previously, and then everybody's a little confused about what we need to do. If a student does not have a social security number, fill out with all zeros. This is a huge myth bust that we want to do and that we want to tackle as counselors and teachers and educators, that undocumented students, because they don't have a social security number, can't go to college. That's false, false, false. Please encourage all your undocumented students or anybody with another immigration status that is not eligible for federal aid, that advise that they can absolutely still go to CUNY and SUNY and other colleges, and all they have to do is fill out zeros to the application. This is what the application looks like. You can leave the blank alien registration number if you do not. This is a application example for a FAFSA application example, somebody who is not eligible, right? So we can see right here, we have the social security number, all zeros, and we would leave the alien registration number blank, right? This is really important because this is the alien registration number is the number that the government gives you when they're keeping track of you. This is a FAFSA form for a non-citizen who is eligible, right? Like a T visa holder on ID. They would or like a DACA student, right? Like they would normally be given a social security number or a work permit or a permanent residency card that already has an alien registration number. So there's two different ones, right? People who are eligible for federal aid, who don't have social security numbers, who are normally people who are without status, TPS, DACA, who don't have permanent residency or permanent security in the United States. This is the second one, people who have been able to somehow secure some type of permanency, even if it's through a work permit or a social security number, or for example, people with U visas normally get permanent residency and can travel in and out of the United States, which is one of the biggest differences between somebody who is a non-citizen but is eligible or seen as somebody who is eligible for federal aid, or someone who is not eligible for federal aid. Filling out FAFSA with undocumented parents. So if your parents is undocumented, but you're a citizen, enter all zeros for parents. And this is also if your parent is undocumented and you're also undocumented. Enter all zeros for parents' social security numbers and do not use the IT number. This is really, really important. Please advise parents do not use their IT number as a social security number because that could be seen as fraud. Parents should sign printed form rather than use 4-digit PIN electronic signature. Parents should request transcript from IRS before filling out. If parents do not have an IT number, they can apply for one using the W-7 form found on the irs.gov website, or you can call 311 and they can walk you through it. We have never, ever, ever, ever heard of a family member being deported due to filing a FAFSA form. Ever, ever. So you can please let students and parents know this as a fact. Alternatives to federal aid. It is crucial, right, to plan ahead financially, starting as early as 9th grade. We know that this can be hard for low-income families, especially if more than one family member is in college at the same time. And we also want to build a lot of space to the known fact that most people with no status pay out of pocket at the same time that they are working, at the same time that they're paying rent, at the same time that they have a lot of extra expenses. So here's some alternative to federal aid. State administered funding through New York State DREAM Act, which is one of them is the Excelsior Scholarship. Many scholarships are open to students regardless of immigration status. And some are created especially for undocumented students. We know the New York State Leadership Organization rolls out a lot of scholarships specifically for undocumented students. There's, a lot of undocumented students like the DACA group, who is the reason why we have this resource now, the New York State DREAM Act resource. They have compiled a really beautiful amount of resources that can be shared to undocumented or other immigrant status students, where they can, get some coins, and we'd be more than happy to share this information that we have right here also on the screen with y'all, so that you can share with your students, so that they can get to searching. We're gonna have a little bit of a society conversation right now, right? Some of us that are dealing with students. Let me check in with the questions. Will they be able to apply without a social security number? Yes. People in CUNY and SUNY are definitely 100% able to apply without a social security number. Are they told this from the college or university? San Mariano, tell me what specifically you're talking about, please.
Hi, I was referring to if a student takes out financial aid and they're not aware that they have to pay it back, if they think it's like financial aid that they don't have to pay back. Then they find out later on they applied for financial aid on their own and they have to pay it back because they're
Yeah.
undocumented.
They're not told this unfortunately, by the college. I feel like a lot of us, unfortunately, in New York City, we are like the financial aid in colleges is like the DMV. It's like, they have all this information that they should be giving you, but they don't until you ask, right? And we all know that college counselors really treat students like adults, and it's like, you should know this before you come into the office type of basis. So we do encourage high school counselors and educators to start kind of like building that seed in their students of, this is the information you need to know, and double check how to advocate to yourself. So no, it's very rare that the college will let them know.
But they do have that information. So if we tell the students, double check this with your financial aid counselor, it should be provided to them.
They should. I can confirm it with you because I don't know how every college works and I don't know how organized they are, but CUNY is pretty efficient with it. I will say that.
Okay, thank you.
Do students need a social security number to apply for financial aid? Students need a social security number to be eligible for financial aid, yes. Not to apply for financial aid, they will just, like we said, put 000 so they can get the report back. They will enter all zeros. Yes, thank you. Does that also apply to TAP all zeros? Yes, that also applies to TAP. So undocumented students are not eligible for FAFSA, yet they're encouraged to apply via College Board profile. Yes, they're encouraged to apply because when you apply for FAFSA, they give you a report that you can give into scholarships. Unfortunately, there's no other way to get it, which is really a problem. It's like, yes, I also feel like, why should they be applying for something they're not eligible for? That's mean. Are SUNY and CUNY colleges free on CSS profile? The applications, you mean?
I believe when you are going to apply through CSS profile, definitely a lot of private universities, you have to pay for that application. That's why I only use the CSS profile if the college you're applying to, you really intend to apply to, you're willing to pay for them to get your CSS profile. I'm assuming SUNY and CUNY probably don't require CSS profile, so we'd still encourage the students to do the CSS profile. Because SUNY and CUNY probably wouldn't charge them anyway. I can't remember. I don't think SUNY.
Yeah, Rosemary,
anyone else knows
heard of CUNY or SUNY charging for this, but I will take down your email and answer that because we've been answering no to this. But it's been a while since we double checked. But it's a no. CUNY and SUNY don't charge for any of these applications through their board.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, I think that's it for the questions for now. So the realities of undocumented students. We have this map, right? Which are the examples of the current state laws and policies. And to your right, you can see we have states with tuition equity laws, which are right here, the green states, right? Like the light green states. States with tuition equity policies and major institutions, right? Which are not many, you can see. States with tuition equity laws and scholarships are like darker, a little bit of the darker green. States with tuition equity laws or policies and some state financial aid are the dark green ones, which are, fortunately, New York is in that. And states that ban enrollment to undocumented students right here, red states. And states where some colleges systems deny enrollment are pink states, which is Georgia. The rest states are pretty much at a college-based basis. But I think that it's important for us as educators to have this conversation around the realities of students, right? Because our undocumented students are not just dealing with their financial aid burdens that we know all students go through, and it's like notoriously in the United States, just something that a lot of us educators and students are constantly advocating for more access for, right? Like I remember one of my college teachers one day telling me like that she was working a job as a waiter, and I was like, what, like, how do you have time to be a waiter, right? And she was like, well, how do you think I can afford to be a teacher? And that like stayed with me forever, right? Because absolutely, not only is education not accessible, but being a teacher is also a huge test to take, because as we know, the education system is still very segregated. There's still a lot to do. There's a lot of communication. There's a lot of conversations that need to be had about the realities of what our students are going through, especially this year with COVID. A lot of our teachers were really left behind. A lot of our educators, were not treated the way that they deserve to be treated. And it really shows in the disparity of these state laws and policies, right, that affect the demographic of what the New York City and New York State student life and teacher life looks like. And it's important to note, right, like a lot of our students in higher education for undocumented students or for immigrant students, it's not that high, right? 98,000 undocumented students graduate high school every year, but only 7.5 of them go to college, and even fewer graduate, right? And we have to be honest about the fact that a lot of it has to do, one, with the current state of just what's going on with the political and socio-political dynamic in the United States. Being undocumented, it's a whole life that is a whole experience that constantly people are closing doors because of statuses and all of these things. And going to college, like we all can know, even people who are citizens, it's very hard to get through college because of the economic strains that people go through. So adding to that, the fact that you have to kind of navigate your own identity and your own almost worth is showing in the numbers. So I would like to offer y'all some additional resources to offer to the students and to anybody, right? Yourself, if you're an educator who grew up an immigrant, grew up undocumented, if you have undocumented or immigrant parents, these resources are also good for you. The first one is the CUNY Undocumented Center, who create a lot of resources for New York City kids and New York State kids. We know we depend a lot on CUNY. We like CUNY, and we want CUNY to just open up for free tuition as well. The Informed Immigrant page. This is a really dope page where you can, to your right, see that they have a Know Your Rights training and what to do if ICE comes to your house job or if you're being deported. And they have a really dope one-on-one on how to renew your DACA, which is something that UnLocal does as well. But they are just like the experts on it. And that's basically it. If anybody has any questions, I'm sharing my screen and show my face.
I do. Sorry.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Okay, so if I have a student who is undocumented, just came from El Salvador a couple of years ago, is a strong student, wants to apply to college, my first tip to her would be to apply for the DREAM Act, correct?
It's because the little tip here is that they're an early arrival. So yes, the first tip is to see if they're eligible for the DREAM Act.
So when they apply, will they be able to get through the whole thing if they don't qualify?
No.
So they'll be stopped in the middle of it if they don't.
At the beginning, the very first page that pops up is the eligibility that you have to process, and then they will tell you you're eligible, and then they will prompt you to the next.
So it's really for someone who's been here for several years, correct? How many years is it that they have to be in the country?
Let me check, because it's not necessarily the country. It's
or New York State even.
They're still in high school?
Yes. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to counsel a student who has come in either in 9th grade or in 12th grade. And I'm guessing that would be different for each.
Yes, I think that the best thing to do is to give them the contact of our New York State Dream Act fellow so that the fellow can look into their specific case, because I'm hesitant in answering yes or no as a confirmation because it depends on their status. It depends if like they have any type of visa. That's what I mean of status. It depends when, like the date. It depends on their graduation of high school or what program they're in. So they could reach out to the
Diana?
fellow, to Diana, and she can give her a more concrete answer.
Okay, but from your understanding, it's really for someone who's been here longer. And I think somewhere I read that it was that they were here before the age of 16.
No, that's for DACA students.
That's
For
for
the DACA
DACA.
application. Yeah, this is for the New York State Dream Act application. So this doesn't have to do with an age restriction. It has to do with a high school graduation check. And
Okay,
that's why I think that the eligibility is either 3 requirements. You're a New York State, you've been a New York State resident, you're in school in New York State, or there's other. So it's sorry, I don't want to give more information and confuse.
no, I know, it's a lot of information for us even.
Yeah, I think that the thing that I will advise everybody when we are trying to understand immigration cases and specific questions is that every immigration case is different. So given general information, which I'm really not trying to do right now, I really want to answer your question and say yes or no, but I really don't want to do that because I don't want to get educators used to having a yes or no answer to every student, because every student's case is different, right? And that's what gets really complicated in these applications. And that's why we advocate so much, because there's 3 eligibility requirements, but they're so heavy that it's so like kind of like difficult to say, oh yes, you're eligible, or no, you're not eligible, according to whatever it is that your experience or your background has been.
So if they fill that out and do the TAP and the Excelsior, those 3 things, then they'll be, and a paper FAFSA, that's the best advice I can give to a student.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and if they don't have a social and they're filling out the FAFSA, explain again, what's the benefit of filing the FAFSA?
If they don't have a social, they just put 000 when the social
Right.
security number goes. The benefit of it is that they can ask for a report, and that report is something that you can give scholarships when you're applying for scholarships. It's a report that scholarships ask for.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So it's basically, why are you asking for this scholarship? Are you not eligible for financial aid? And the student is like, no, look, I'm not eligible. Here's the report. So then the scholarship is like, okay, so here's some money.
Okay, but they might be eligible for the DREAM Act.
Yes.
Okay,
The DREAM Act is specific for people who are not eligible for federal aid.
okay. Thank you.
Hi, Angelica.
Yes.
Hi, I have a senior who applied this year from our high school for Dream Act. She did this because we were under the impression that she needed to have submitted that application by February. So as of now, she hasn't heard anything. Then I went online and I saw the deadline to submit that application is July. Are these deadlines correct?
Yeah,
Then the follow through about the Excelsior, the tabs there, if we're talking about you're submitting in July, then when do you get a response? And then to
Yeah.
follow, and the intention is to start school in September.
Yes. So these deadlines are correct. We check in with them all the time, but it's the College Board, right? So we know I can't really. The deadlines, to my knowledge, are up to date on their website. We hear some students receiving have already received answers, and we also hear students receiving answers very late. So it's not abnormal.
Okay.
The thing to do, I think, is to get the student to be more aware of not to miss certain deadlines and to start pushing a little bit if they haven't heard, right? So either contacted the admissions office, contacted financial aid, whoever it is that needs to kind of learn their name to say, hey, I'm here, I'm waiting for an answer. It's not something they should be doing, but it's something that if it's not happening, let's do it, right? Just to double check.
Okay, so contact the financial aid office of the college she was admitted to see if they've received any information from Dream Act about how she can proceed. Okay, yeah, that's what we got started. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Anyone else? I know this was a lot of
And I
information.
just wanted to say, are you going to be sending us a copy of the PowerPoint?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And you'll have my email if you have any questions. We also do conversations around a lot of things. We do DACA presentations. If you have students that need a DACA presentations, we do know your right trainings. We do culture and sensitivity for counselors and teachers. We do mental health modules for undocumented students and teachers, immigrant teachers. So please use my email as a resource for any questions that you may have. We also have immediate communication with the Mayor's Office Coalition, the DOE Education Collaborative. So if you as educators feel like we as UnLocal need to be saying something about your undocumented students, please email me, right? Because we are also advocates. We're not over here just saying we're educators for no reason, because we are very appreciative of what you all do for our youth.
Would you do some more presentations on applying for financial aid to undocumented students?
Would I do more?
Presentations to small groups of undocumented students.
Yeah, absolutely. We can also, that again, Diana can walk people personally through their applications. If people are just really lost in the sauce, they can email Diana and they can ask for some help.
I have a student who is lost in the sauce with TAP. They keep getting emails. They financially, they're good. Like they were told everything's good, but for some reason with TAP, they keep getting emails saying that things aren't filled out correctly. And I don't know how to help the student with that, because the personalized questions are just a little difficult for the two of us to figure out together. So would Diana be able to help that student as well?
Yep, that's a perfect referral for Diana.
Okay. And then is Diana's email in the chat?
Yeah, I could add it right now.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. I know that I went to college 10 years ago, and now that I'm looking at the application, I'm like, this is nothing what I did, right? So
She's still in the car.
It's different every year, I think.
Yeah, there is one in there.
Where?
Can you do presentations for parents and students in Spanish? Yes, we can. Just definitely request the presentation through our website, or email me, or email Diana. Yep, email Diana or email me, and we can set that up. You can email Diana because Diana's the one that's taking lead on most of these. But if she doesn't have time, I can do it.
Sorry, yeah, Angelica, what I can do is I can send everyone an email with your contact information and Diana, and also a copy of the presentation.
Yes, that would be awesome. So everybody can have my email for any other need that y'all have. We have 5 more minutes for anybody that has any other question or anything you want to say, or if you would want to chat a little bit. Copy of the recording. I don't know. I don't have the recording. Denise, will the recording be sent out?
Yes, it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, but I'll also send a link to everyone. So I'll try to do it by the end of the day.
Thank you so much.
Do you have a contact? Thank you. Or Know Your Rights Coalition. I don't know about a Know Your Rights Coalition. We give Know Your Right trainings, and we're in the Education Collaborative Coalition. I don't have I don't know if I can give the contact out actually, but I can keep you informed, Serena. I can introduce you to Andrea, which is the person who leads that. for sure. If you can email me, I'll make contact for anybody. All right, y'all.
And then, like, I do have a question real quick. As far as like applying for like these scholarships and stuff like that, can't do this still have time to? Because I know like scholarships have deadlines, but are there scholarships that are still available for these kids?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. And like I like to tell my kids, it's like, all right, you didn't have time for this year, apply for next year. Look at the applications. Don't get lost in the sauce. So for sure, some people still have some time. Some scholarships are like, even for those last minute people that we all exist. I'm one of them. But like, even if they didn't make the deadline for this year, get them used to the application for next year and kind of like tapping into being like, so by next year we'll have this, you have a whole year to look at this. So by next year you'll be an expert, you'll be able to walk your peers through this application kind of thing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Angelica?
Yes.
Angelica, thank you so much for this presentation. I have a question. I know a few students that have graduated from high school already, maybe 2-3 years ago.
Mhm.
They have dropped out of college because they were paying out of pocket,
Mhm.
and they could not do it anymore. Would they be able to get this type of assistance?
Yes, they're the perfect people to apply for these because it's a 5-year range between your high school graduation and an undergraduate program. So absolutely, this is the scholarship for them. They should absolutely take advantage of them because most of them have already paid so much money.
Yeah.
For elective, sometimes this is the hardest thing. So yeah, for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you, Angelica.
Yeah, no worries.